It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Welcome to Divine Dialogue, heard on Rockland World Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday evening. Be sure to check out the archives of past Divine Dialogue. And now, tonight's host, Lisa A. Howard.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to This or Better's Divine Dialogue. With me today is Larry Alexander of SoupAngels.com. And a good evening to my wonderful co-host, Teresa Winicky of Dynamic Evolution, who could not be here tonight because she wasn't feeling 100%. And so Teresa will be calling in later this evening to ask Larry some questions. But for now, please welcome Larry Alexander of SoupAngels.com and hear how you can call in later at 845-353-2910 if you have any questions for Larry or myself. So, good evening.
Hi, Lisa.
We had all of, a minute to talk before...
Plenty of time.
Before the camera starts to roll. I reached out to you, a week ago? A week or so ago, when I stumbled upon Soup Angels. And when I heard about what it was that you do, I thought that it was too good of a secret to remain a secret. It should really be out in the open.
It shouldn't be a secret.
It shouldn't be a secret. So far, it seems like it's been kept well. So I wanted to give you an opportunity, as I do with other smaller nonprofit organizations, an opportunity to share with the community, both at large as well as expanding beyond the local community on how people might be able to help Soup Angels. I thought it was wonderful and fascinating, the story, and so I'd love to give you an opportunity to...
Sure, that's great.
Tell me, where did it begin? How did it begin?
It began 7 years ago on Thanksgiving. 3 women, Katie Berry, Kathy Reif, and Kathleen Myers started it. And they said, hey, this is a great thing. We want to do it every week. So they asked for volunteers to sign up, and a bunch of us signed up. And we created teams, serving teams, cooking teams, and we've been doing it every week for about 7 years.
And Soup Angels, now I know what you do, but Soup Angels, for our audience, those listening now and those who will hear later,
right?
What does Soup Angels do?
Soup Angels serves a hot, nutritious meal twice a week, no questions asked, free of charge. And we serve it restaurant style. You're sitting at a table with a tablecloth, candles, silverware, china, and you're served by waiters and waitresses, and it's a beautiful thing.
Wonderful. And candlelight.
We have candles.
How nice. And what inspired the candles?
It's beautiful. It's like a restaurant.
Right. And it's
We're trying to make it nice for our guests.
Right. Absolutely. And give them that sense of warmth. When I stopped by, when I first discovered Soup Angels, which is located here, you serve out of this Presbyterian church?
Yes, it's the First Reformed Church of Nyack,
okay,
on the corner of Broadway and Bird.
Okay, and it's Monday and Wednesdays, and is it 6 to 7?
It's every Monday and Wednesday, 52 weeks a year, 5:30 to 6:30.
5:30 to 6:30.
Yes.
And what would you say is the average? I thought it looked, by the time I got there, I want to say that I think half of your recipients had left. They'd already been...
Well, it's very busy right at 5:30. We get a rush coming in the door.
Right.
And then by about 6 o'clock, it really slows down a lot.
Larry, what do you, if I wanted to help, aside from helping...
We would love you to help.
And I absolutely will. And I will find other ways to help Soup Angels. I give you my word. But what do you feel is the most eminent need?
Well, we always need volunteers, and we always need donations.
And your volunteers would do what?
There's a lot of different jobs at Soup Angels. We have teams for the serving of the food. We have teams for cooking the food. We have shopping teams. And that's pretty much it. Shopping, cooking, and serving.
Okay.
And serving includes setting up.
And clean up.
The volunteers get there about 4 o'clock. They set up the dining room. serve from 5:30 to 6:30, and then 6:30 to about 7:15, cleaning up, and we leave it. It looks like we were never there.
Right, wonderful. Now, what do you feel? There's so much I want to ask. I know we only have a certain limited amount of time to go over it, and I so appreciate that you brought me some of this information, which we will post on our website so that
great.
people can see and hear more of the facts about Soup Angels. I saw people of all ages
As guests or as volunteers?
as guests.
Okay.
And I saw both, and to your point, the volunteers. I saw a few younger kids as well as the folks my age and even older. So,
Right.
what do you think? Let's talk about the volunteers for a moment. What drives and inspires your volunteers to show up every night?
Volunteering is such a great thing. I love it.
Because why?
The whole part about am I getting paid what I'm worth and all that is totally out of the question. You're just there because you want to be there, and to see the reaction of these people when you're feeding them food,
Your gratitude.
it's so they're so gracious about it, and it's just a wonderful feeling.
And this might be considered slightly personal. You've been with Soup Angels for how long?
7 years.
Have you seen a change in your life? Let's look at the timeline. How has your life changed in the past 7 years while you are giving of yourself to this organization?
I'm doing well. I feel good. It really makes me feel good volunteering.
Right. And I just wonder, I asked that question, and the reason I say that it could be considered a personal question is because what I have found in my experience, and for those that I am familiar with that have dedicated a certain number of hours or time and money to giving, many can actually reflect and recognize a transformation in their life. For instance, prior to my deciding to be a tither, I am a regular tither. Being a metaphysician, I understand the universal laws and that karma. There's a often quoted statement about karma that what goes around comes around. But it's interesting.
I totally believe that.
Right.
There's a cycle to giving and receiving.
Right.
And if you don't give, it kind of breaks the cycle.
Right. It holds you back from your own good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's always been a lot of dialogue around why a person should give, which I think is very interesting, that there are even limitations and boundaries for giving.
Mm-hmm.
That, there is a society, or a portion of it. I think we have evolved tremendously. But there's still a portion of society that believes that when you give, you should give freely with zero expectation. And so I would say that from a metaphysician's perspective, and if you study universal laws and so on, and we know that we live in a universe that it's transactional. So when I go back to that statement about, what goes around comes around, and the whole philosophy of karma, it's interesting that as a race, humans believe that that's only when it's something bad. When you do something bad to someone, they go, oh, well, what goes around comes around. So why shouldn't the same be true when one is thinking about giving?
I definitely believe it is true.
Exactly. So, and I do too. I share that belief. And so I wanted to contribute to society some of my thoughts on giving, and hence this show, and creating an environment where we can engage in what we call divine dialogue. Divine dialogue to us is empowering thought that starts to get the creative juices going in one's mind.
Yes.
And when we engage in divine dialogue, it takes practice. But when you sit with empowering thought, you can eventually are able to hear the answer. It shows up. When you quiet your mind and you stop the mindless chatter, or the reality shows, or whatever it is that's going on in your life that takes you away. I think that the benefit of divine dialogue is that it empowers this inner conversation and propels one to their purpose.
I'm trying to go in that direction. It's not always easy.
Exactly. Likewise. It is every day. You wake up and right, you say, I'm going to put my best foot forward, and you do the best you can. So when I have had an interest in working with smaller nonprofit organizations for probably 15 years now. Although 15 years ago it wasn't as concentrated as it is now. Now I have decided that what I want to give to the next half of my life is service. And I don't know what that looks like all the time. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's volunteering my time. Right now, this chapter of my life is the Divine Dialogue Show. And creating an opportunity for others to hear about the wonderful things that people like yourself and your counterparts at soupangels.com are doing. And I think if there's an environment where people are actually recognized for the good that they do, to quote the Albert Schweitzer quote, is do something wonderful and people may imitate it. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, we could refer to...
Well, being recognized is fine, but it's just a good feeling that you get from volunteering.
Right. And
I don't need to be recognized.
And that's beautiful, and I wouldn't expect anything less from you, because I think that when people start giving, for whatever our reason is to initiate the giving process in our life, eventually we learn that life is about giving, and that we live to give as opposed to give to live.
I agree.
Right? But to me, it doesn't matter how you get there. I believe inevitably that there is one goal, and the goal is to understand that our contribution is essential. It's not an elective, it's essential. Mm-hmm. So, I had spoken to a few of the people that were present that last Monday evening, and so I asked a few of the women, and they all said very similar things. The personal benefit is different for each and every one of us. But the common thread is that there is a wonderful feeling, and in that wonderful feeling that has been created, it puts us in a place, and it attracts to us and to our life more wonderful things. When you feel good, you bring more good into your life.
I agree.
So if your only purpose in giving is to create this harmonious and wonderful energy within you to attract more good, well then so be it, everybody wins. I'm a win-win girl. If everybody wins, I'm happy.
It's good. It works for me too.
Right? What goes around comes around. Mm-hmm. So I thought that let's open it up. It's going to be a little earlier than normal. We usually wait for a little while. But I'm really curious as to what our fan base and our audience at the moment has. I thought it was interesting when I had a conversation with my daughter this morning, and my daughter is in her 20s, and so I explained to her. She said, "Well, what did I like about Soup Angels? What had attracted me?" And aside from the fact that you are a smaller organization and you, at the moment, don't have the deep pockets that some of the larger organizations and the corporate funding and backing and so on allows them to be heard, and so they keep raising boatloads of money and they do wonderful things with it. But there is a huge portion of the nonprofit world that is considered small, and their voice is equal to their pockets, it seems.
Mm-hmm. We are pretty small. We serve about 80 people a week.
80 a week.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
About 80 people, yeah. And I know there's more than 80 hungry people out there.
Absolutely. But you can only do what you can do. And you open your doors. And are you limited to a certain number? I mean, by capacity, if nothing else,
right.
Your capacity.
If we reached that point, we would just somehow expand it.
That would be a great problem to have, wouldn't it?
It would be. We would serve in shifts, or we'd find a bigger space, but I think we could handle probably 100 people in there.
100 people.
At once.
And, well, how long did it take?
Well, for example, on Thanksgiving, we feed about 200 people.
Wow.
On Thanksgiving, we make a big deal out of it. Full turkey dinner, and with stuffing and cranberries and everything. And people come in shifts. So we do serve more than 100 people.
Right. So that's interesting, and we'll get back to that you said that on Thanksgiving you make a very big deal of it. Right. I know you are very humble about what it is you do, but you're doing something fantastic, and I'm hoping that more people will imitate you. And if that's not starting their own soup kitchen, then it's supporting something like yours. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that's going to happen, whether it's serving or cooking or shopping. whatever their passion happens to be. They might love being of service and so on. I'm going to open the lines if we can. The number is 845-353-2910, and we encourage callers to call in and find out. We ask Larry or myself anything you'd like to know about Soup Angels and how you might be able to participate. Or if you have questions about what it is they do and how they do it, I'd love to hear from you right now. One of the conversations that I had this morning, which I started to tell you about, was from my daughter. And my daughter explained to me that, she said, well, I think it's interesting that there's no questions asked. And so I encouraged her, and I said, well, I would love to hear more from your generation.
Right, some people show up and they say, do I have to sign in or something? No, you don't have to sign in. Just come in and eat. I know some organizations, you have to take a breathalyzer test or things like that. We don't ask any questions. Now, if people get unruly, we ask them to leave, but it's really hardly ever an issue.
Right. Well, I'm going to save the question, or that question you can answer when.
Hello?
Hello? Someone's on the phone.
Hello.
Mom?
Well, and so welcome. This is my lovely daughter Samantha calling in. Can you hear? Samantha, I was just telling Larry about our conversation this morning, so I thought it would be a perfect opportunity for you to ask Larry yourself and share with us your concern, for lack of a better word. I'm going to use concern right now. Your concern about the no questions asked. I was really interested in your opinion.
I'm just curious, what about, I'd like to think that everyone is good in the world, but there are some people who maybe tend to take advantage. How do you know that those people coming in for the meals that we're providing for those less fortunate than I or you are exactly that, less fortunate and in need of a meal?
Right. Well, we don't really have the staff to filter people out. But the other thing is that, it is a nice environment if you need food and if you're hungry. But I think people that have a family and have plenty of food at home and they're doing okay, I think they'd rather be at home.
Right.
It hasn't really seemed to be a problem. I think some of our guests are more needy than others, but we just really don't want to go there.
Right.
It's whoever needs a meal and whoever's hungry is welcome to come in and eat.
And I think, a man's conscience has to be his guide. And, which is, as I said, my conversation with my daughter this morning as we were both making our way out the door to work was, how do you know? Well, you don't. You only know what's in your own conscience, your own intention. And so if you live and die by your own intentions and that is your creed, then...
Right. Once in a while we see someone there and we think, is that person really homeless? Or it doesn't really matter. We just don't go there.
Right. So, Samantha, is there anything else, that you, because you're in your 20s and you are considered so young,
You are young, Samantha.
You are young. I know that's a private joke with us because anyone older than Samantha is old.
Okay.
So,
That's true.
I had asked my daughter, I said, I thought that it would be really interesting to find out. So this will go into the next conversation. And Sam, if you don't have any more questions, then we can open up the line for the next caller.
I would love to help Soup Angels. I'd like to find out more about it so I could volunteer my time, or if there's anything that you need volunteer-wise, I would love to join the mission.
Well, if you or anyone out there would like to volunteer, go to our website, soupangels.com, and right there you can sign up to volunteer or donate. We have a PayPal account that's linked right to the bank account.
Wonderful.
So it's very easy. Just go to the website and you'll see what's going on.
Right.
I will definitely do that.
Yes, you will.
That's great. That's great. We always need more volunteers.
And Samantha, I would like to personally encourage you to bring soupangels.com to your Facebook contacts. And I would like you to ask each one of your Facebook, your friends on Facebook, to start spreading the word about soupangels.com and use social media to contribute to the betterment of this world and your local community. So I would encourage you to do that, and haste makes waste.
That's a good point. That's one thing we haven't quite gotten together yet, is the social media aspect of it. So,
Well, I have a lot of friends, so I can hook it up.
right. Maybe you could help us get a Facebook account.
All right.
Okay, Samantha, thank you for taking the time out of your evening to call in and ask Larry, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have when I return.
Sure. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Samantha.
I think it's interesting, and I really think that there is a tremendous opportunity with the youth of America today. In a lot of the research that I have done, and I mentioned this to you earlier, especially the college-age demographic, are very, very philanthropical minded.
Yes, they are. We have a lot of young volunteers.
How young?
Well, we kind of keep it at 12 years old and older.
Right, which you explained to me.
Right.
It's
It's just a little too
for safety
dangerous for
purposes.
little kids. And between 12 and 14, we ask that they're accompanied by an adult that's responsible for that kid. Above 14, you can just come and volunteer.
Right. Do I hear another caller on the line?
Yes, hi, it's Teresa.
Hello, it is my illustrious partner, Teresa. Hello, my co-host. How
Hello.
are you?
Hi, Teresa.
Sorry for coming on the show this evening and
Thank
sitting in my seat. Thank you, you're filling it nicely.
Teresa, do you have any questions for Larry?
I do. I was sitting here watching and listening, and I heard you say that you have about 80 clients that come in per week. And I was just wondering, where do contributions come from outside maybe individuals contributing online? But do you, how does it work? Do you cook there? Do you use the money to buy food to bring it in? Do you have partners that, like some of the food banks, they have trucks that bring in food that are left over, like bread or whatever?
Right. Well, we get a lot of food donations from various local people, and there's a place down in Carteret, New Jersey, Porky Products, that donates all of our meat. We have Old World Market here in Nyack that donates bread. Bunberries in Piermont donates muffins. We have a lot of different, Starbucks actually donates to us. So we have a lot of food donations, and then we get monetary donations all year long, especially during the street fairs over the summer. We have a booth, and we have a big soup pot that says, "Please help," Soup Angels, and people just throw dollar bills in there.
Right.
And we
$1
collect-
at a time.
$1 at a time. We
That's
collect a
right.
lot of
So
money
you
that
serve
way.
more than just soup. I'm thinking, wow, pots of soup, but you serve more than
Well, it's
just-
funny, the original concept was soup and sandwich,
Uh-huh.
and that didn't work 7 years ago. It was too expensive. And so we went to actually fully cooked hot meals.
Fully cooked hot meals is more affordable than soup?
It is. Soup is very expensive.
Really?
Really?
Yes. Now,
where
it
do
turns
you-
out that about 2 years ago, we added our second day. We were on Wednesdays for the first 5 years, and then we added Mondays, and now on Mondays, we actually serve soup and sandwich. So it worked out. We have a soup team. We have a team of women that come in and just cook soup every Monday.
Interesting.
Wow.
The soup team.
Yeah.
So they cook right there on premises at the church?
Yes, all of our food is cooked there at the church. And it's a Board of Health approved kitchen. Any food that we serve is from a Board of Health approved kitchen, even if people do donate it.
So do you have people then help, or do you have specific volunteers that do the cooking, or you have anybody that can come in and help cook also, or?
We have different teams. We have, like I said, the soup team. And then we have a team of chefs. We have 3 or 4 real chefs that do the cooking. And then there's a team of volunteers that help the chefs. So that's the cooking team.
So
And then
there's
we
sous
have
chefs.
serving teams, and we have shopping teams.
Right.
So how many people does it take on a night to make it all happen?
Well, we have a lot of volunteers. We have probably 300 volunteers. So what we did is we broke it up into teams. To serve a meal takes about 15 people.
To serve a meal, 15
To serve a
people.
meal. So sometimes the meal is actually cooked the night before, put in the refrigerator, and then just heated up. Sometimes it's cooked on Wednesday right before the meal. But the serving team is about 15 people. We have people actually taking the plates to the clients. We have people doing the dishes when they're done. And we have people counting how many people show up. And we have people serving drinks. And we have people doing desserts. And it adds up to about 15 people.
Interesting. Now, I noticed that there was a big basket of green bananas on the day that I went.
Right. Usually they're yellow.
Well, actually, I thought it was very interesting. She said, well, they were green, and, you know, if someone takes a green banana, it'd take a day or two to ripen.
Right.
But they leave with something.
Our clients love the bananas. Some of them don't have the greatest dental work going on.
Right.
So bananas are soft, and they just love the bananas. Some take 2 or 3 bananas with them. And as long as they eat them, that's fine. They do love the bananas.
Right. Teresa, did you have anything particular, anything else that you wanted to ask?
No, I was just well, one is just how, where is it you feel that you need the most help? Is
Right.
it the financial contributions? I'm assuming that you have a schedule of people that sign up on particular days to be doing certain things.
Well, we organize all of our volunteers into teams. So there's team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for Wednesdays. So team 1 will only work every 8 weeks. It rotates around.
Oh.
So that team of 15 people will come in every 8 weeks and serve on that Wednesday. And the same thing on Mondays. On Mondays, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. And again, so we have 16 serving teams. Each team only works once every 8 weeks. Now, some people want to work more than once every 8 weeks, so they can sign up on 2 teams.
Right.
Great.
Or they can sign up for a serving team and the cooking team, or the shopping team, or any combination.
Is that all on the website to sign up for the teams, or you have to be there?
Yes, you can. Well, if you volunteer on the website, you'll just put your name and email on there, and you will immediately get back an email explaining how it all works. And then take it one step at a time.
Terrific. Well, thank you. I don't want to clog up the line. I'll call back in later. I'll let other people call in if they want to, and I'll
Okay, good.
later. Well, thank you, Larry, again for being there.
You're very welcome.
I'm watching you right now.
Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
So,
Bye.
one of the questions that Teresa was asking just now is, where do you think the biggest need is? And I don't want to speak for you, but
Right.
if you have 300 volunteers.
Right. Well, we always need donations, and and that could be food donations. If it's cooked food, it has to come from a Board of Health approved kitchen. But we also get donations of canned goods, and we have a list on our website of what we need, what canned goods and what packaged goods we need. So we always need that. Monetary donations is very
Always
important.
welcomed.
Yeah. And then we really do need volunteers, because some people volunteer for a year and then they kind of drop out. So we need to replace them.
Right.
And we're always thinking of projects to do. So yes, volunteers and donations.
And considering the fact, you know, a lot of people, I think a big challenge for people today to give, there's no mistaking that Samantha is my daughter. She thinks that the majority of the world is good. And so I'm very proud of that. I, too, think that the majority of the world
Her
is
glass
good.
is half full.
Her glass is half full. Oh, did you see that last week, that the glass was half full?
No.
Oh, I had a glass of water here. Encouraging people to define whether it was
Okay.
half full or half empty. But time, you know, in our lives has become a very
It's a commodity.
precious commodity.
Yes, it is.
And so for many people, I believe that the majority of the world are contributors as opposed to consumers. And sometimes we're both. But that to find a way to make it easy and to fit in, it's not always, time is not always easy. So volunteering. So that's why I like to talk about the different ways, which is what Teresa was, I think one of the points she was trying to make. What's the immediate need? What are the other needs? I love that you have a variety of teams, and I love that they only have to do it every 8 weeks. Yet
Right.
for me, I know that, yes.
Well, we don't want to ask too much of our volunteers.
Exactly.
Once every 8 weeks is really not enough for most of the people.
Exactly.
They love being there. They love seeing
And they want to do
the
more.
people eating food, and they want to do more. And a lot of people say, how can I get on 2 teams?
Right.
And you can.
What do you attribute when you say that some of the members, after a year, is it possible that when they find another organization where they feel like they are of more use, or what do you think is?
I don't know. I think it's just people moving to a different location, or most of our volunteers really stick with us for a long, long time.
Right.
But people have lives, and
Things
come up.
change, and right. And so you always have to keep a base of volunteers.
most of our volunteers just love it, and they just want to be there.
Right. And I can completely understand why volunteers love it. I have been involved in community service for many, many years. And so I know that it's an incredible feeling.
It is.
It's an absolutely incredible and amazing feeling to know that you are helping.
Right, and also you have a new group of friends, your teammates. It's almost like a social event.
Right.
You're meeting some really nice, caring people, and they're friends.
That's right. And to deliberately, that's something that Teresa and I often talk about choosing the type of people that we want in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so sharing a common interest in community service is a great way to be amongst like-minded individuals who will teach us to grow, right? Because
Totally
friends are
agree.
wonderful, but if your friends don't inspire you to grow, then they're occupants.
Right.
That's how they're occupants. But if they inspire you to grow and support you in that
Yes,
growth,
volunteering is really an uplifting feeling.
so you could do worse as far as friends go, correct?
Totally correct.
So now that we have talked about some of and we know that the soupangels.com, we really want to direct people to soupangels.com. Because this is a new show, I know that our audience, it's growing incrementally, it's growing. I would like to encourage everyone who's watching our show today to consider forwarding soupangels.com to every contact in your Facebook or whatever social media venue you use out there. Because if time is an issue for you, and if money is an issue, and for whatever reason you feel that there is that you lack a talent that you might be able to contribute, then right here and right now at this moment, you have a finger and you can actually forward soupangels.com. You can enter that. I don't know what you post that on your wall and then send it to everyone. If nothing else, you can spread the word and use social media as a means of serving Soup Angels. So I would encourage you to do that at the very least.
Spread the word for people to volunteer, and also spread the word for anyone who needs a meal. We're just open to serving meals to anyone who needs it.
Social media is great for many, many things, and as a parent, I have resisted social media for a very long time, because I think it can be abused. This is an opportunity to show the power of social media and what social media can do for an organization like soupangels.com.
It is very powerful.
Intention is everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so now, Samantha, you could make a mother very proud by using social media
Come on, Samantha.
to help soupangels.com, and ask every one of your contacts to do the same thing. And let's see what kind of traction soupangels.com gets out of that.
Awesome. I love
Larry, what do you think is another organization, not to take anything away from soupangels.com, but I really want to encourage the smaller nonprofit organizations to find a way, and whether that's reaching out to us here at This or Better and being a guest on our Divine Dialogue show. We want to create a platform. This is a solution platform. This is about talking about what's going well in the world. And so soupangels.com, as soon as I saw that, I wanted to share that. Look, what a beautiful thing this is that this community is pulling off. And it takes 300 volunteers to do it.
That's right.
So what are some other needs that you see in this immediate community? I don't know that everyone's aware. There are pockets of poverty.
Besides other needs, there are other food programs. So we take care of Monday nights and Wednesday nights. There's another soup kitchen on Sunday nights called Sunday Supper.
Sunday Supper. Where is that?
Which is in the Living Christ Church on South Broadway. And that was actually started a year before Soup Angels. So that takes care of Sundays. There's all kinds of food programs in Nyack, and we actually have a list of them on our website
Right.
at soupangels.com.
Okay, good. I'll check that. I didn't see that when I was on your website. I went through as many pages as I could. In fact, I had printed, I was interested to find out how many different food pantries there were, and just in this Rockland community.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. I came up with 18, and I just stopped at 18. I could have kept going and going.
Right.
And these are all small organizations that might not get any recognition. And like you said, it's not about the recognition. It's about recognizing what's working and what's going well. But it's also about bringing attention to and awareness to those who are in need. I have found that obviously, and I think that you would be a better judge of this, having been involved with soupangels.com. The need has changed. There's an even bigger need. You know, there has been a stigma attached to soup kitchens, and it implies that only the homeless need a soup kitchen.
Right. No, it's
But that's
totally
not true
that.
anymore.
No, it's not only that. We do have some homeless guests, but it's just a lot of people are hurting a little bit financially. And if 2 or 3 nights a week you don't have to buy dinner for your family, you can pay a bill.
Right. You
With
can
that
keep the
money.
lights on. Or
Yeah. That's right.
Absolutely. And I think the senior citizen community.
The senior citizens, yes. The working poor. We get a lot of day workers coming in.
Right. And I would imagine that the working poor, the number, in terms of percentage-wise, has to have increased, and perhaps dramatically over the last 4 years alone, with the economy.
Seems like
and
it, yeah.
you know, we now the SNAP program, which is the government, the food stamp program, more cutbacks with the food stamps. We talked a couple weeks ago about charitable giving, and that unfortunately, you know, when things are going well, people feel generous, or the holiday times, people feel very, very generous. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I don't want to take away from that. I really want to applaud that during the holiday season, there's something in us that really wants to give back more, and it becomes very, very aware of itself.
Holidays and hurricanes.
Holidays and hurricanes. But then there comes January. And the cupboards for a lot of the food pantries that I have talked about start to go lean.
Yes, they do.
So, you know, I'm trying to create ideas and ways to support the nonprofit community, the smaller nonprofit community, throughout the rest of the year, not just at the holiday time. And so conscious giving, for me, that has been part of my life for the last 7 years, conscious giving. And so for me, it happens to be my spiritual home. But in addition to my spiritual home, I do find organizations close to my community. Typically, it's close to my community. And then, of course, there are those that are close to my heart. And so, you know, the Parkinson's Association happens to be one. I lost my father to Parkinson's. And I am also a contributor to many of the cancer foundations. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, there has always been a soft spot in my heart for food pantries, and that's because I am one of 9 children. I grew up with 7, and at the time, there were many nights that our meals were supplemented by the boxes of food that we received from the church. Mm-hmm. And so I think that my memory of that and how my mother would have been able to pull it off otherwise, and my mother worked every day, full-time job, 2 jobs, in fact. 7 days a week she was working. And so my heart goes out to people, like you say, the working poor, who are not looking for a free ride. They're just trying to make ends meet.
They are. And some of them are very hungry when they show up.
Right. Right. Do you, aside from the local food pantries, so you say that in the summertime you get your biggest or a large portion of your fundraising efforts take place during the street fairs?
Yes.
And what about corporate sponsorship? Couldn't you use a great big corporate sponsor?
I suppose. You know, I'm not really sure about that. We've been existing without corporate sponsorship, no government sponsorship. It's just local donations.
Right. Well, and you know, I was reading an article And in fact, Katie Couric had a show on it was around Thanksgiving, and she had a few nonprofit organizations talk about what it was they do and how you can make sure that your charitable giving is being used appropriately. And it is important. We do encourage people to give, but there is a responsibility to.
That's a good point. I should mention that 100% of our donations go to serving the people.
Right.
No one gets paid
Which is
at Soup Angels.
Which is phenomenal. But what about advertising? How do you market what you do? And I don't say market because, as far as Retail America would market, but how do you get the word out?
It's word of mouth.
It's all word of mouth.
Yeah. I think we could probably do a little better with the advertising.
So, Larry, and this is just a question.
We need a volunteer to help us with advertising.
Right. Maybe sponsor the advertising of soupangels.com.
Yeah.
Everything's a thought before it becomes a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're engaging in this thought right now, and so I fully expect that an advertising sponsorship will materialize.
That would be beautiful.
That'd be an awesome thing. And if you, if the demand is such that you create meals, dinner time, 5 nights a week, would you have an objection to that?
No, that would be great. Yeah. I guess that would be our ultimate goal, is to serve 7 nights a week.
Right. I actually, after I first met, and this is just how my mind works, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if soupangels.com became a household word and actually became, can you franchise a nonprofit? Well, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't think you can franchise it, but perhaps you could have Soup Angel ambassadors in different, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Soup Angel ambassadors throughout the United States. And that soupangels.com actually became.
We need some copycat soup kitchens.
That's right. And there goes that Albert Schweitzer quote again, that if you do something wonderful, people may imitate it. It'd be wonderful to see Soup Angels take on a life of its own throughout the United States.
Yes, it would.
Because, we've talked about the, and in fact, Rich Quinn, who runs this studio, or this theater, had mentioned a couple weeks ago when Teresa and I were talking about giving and, the benefits of giving. And so after the show was over, we started talking about it. And one of the points he made, which is a point well made, that the gift in giving is the benefit of giving. But that in and of itself creates a really big discussion, because to my point earlier in the show, to judge one's giving is, I think it's mind-blowing that we can sit and critique why someone gives. Just give. If everybody was more concerned with what they give as opposed to who was giving what and why, then shows like this wouldn't even be needed.
Right, that's a little too much psychology for me.
Right. So what's the psychology you would want to share, since we know that we have a limited amount of time? What's the message that you want to leave our audience right now?
Soup Angels can always use more volunteers, more donations. It's a wonderful feeling when you do it. Give it a try. Go to the website.
Right. And maybe we can find a volunteer to help you out with your social media campaign,
That would be great.
if we haven't already.
I would love that.
Right?
Even a newsletter. Maybe we could get a newsletter going.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. And I know, do you receive any help from people to people? Do you work with people to people at times?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
What about the New York State Food Bank?
No. We're not working with them currently.
Are they possibilities? I mean, are you aware of them, and maybe working with them, they might be able to support some of your efforts?
I'm not aware of it, but something we could look into.
Right. I have some contact with both organizations, so if I find that out, I'd be happy
That would be
to
great.
share that information with you. But I think that it's important, and that's a big goal, is to focus on the interdependence of community, the small nonprofit organizations, and the individuals. So the calling and motivation for each and every one of us is different, but the call to service, regardless of what it is for us individually, none of this work can be done. It takes a village. And that village consists of the small nonprofits, from big box retailers to small community mom and pop shops to the individuals like you and I that volunteer and to serve and so on. And for those viewers, again, I would encourage you to do what you can for soupangels.com, whether it's making a donation on their website at soupangels.com and utilizing their PayPal feature, or emailing them and looking for ways to volunteer, or perhaps at the very least spreading the word of what soupangels.com does throughout your social media preferred choice. Teresa, if you're still there and you have any questions that you would like to ask Larry before we close the show for the night, now would be a great time to call. I don't think we have any callers on hold at the moment. But I really want to thank you for taking the time out, because as we said,
Thank
time
you,
is a big
Lisa,
thing.
for spreading the word.
It's my absolute pleasure, Teresa and I plan on continuing this format and reaching out to a lot more of the, and I say the small nonprofit because I want to be a contributor to the growth. And maybe one day it won't be a small nonprofit.
I think you contributed a lot tonight.
Well, thank you very much. It's my absolute pleasure. And I will make sure that both my daughter and I get in touch with you, and we will find a way to support your efforts.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Love it.
On that note, I think that it is almost time to wrap up. If, once again, the dial-in number to call in and ask either Larry or myself any questions is 845-353-2910. And perhaps, if you're not familiar with soupangels.com, but you do have an experience on giving and how it has changed your life, I would encourage you to call now and share that inspirational story with our viewers. So, on that note, I thought that while we're waiting, since we do have some time, we could go over some of the facts on tonight's show for those who may not have started with us at 7 o'clock. Soup
Right, one
Angels?
thing I didn't mention is that 51 weeks a year, we cook a hot meal. And then on Thanksgiving, it's actually the Wednesday before Thanksgiving every year, we have it catered from our donations. And the caterer gives us a really good deal. And we actually go all over the county and ask all the soup kitchens and shelters how many Thanksgiving meals they would like. And this year we sent out 2,000 Thanksgiving meals.
Larry, that's huge. 2,000. Bravo. 2,000 meals you sent out
Yes.
of that little Reformed church.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. That's phenomenal. No wonder why you have a smile on your face. You have to feel incredibly good. So on top of that incredible 2,000 meals, they were doing this for 7 years. As you heard Larry say, it was started in 2006, and it was started on Thanksgiving Day. What a beautiful thing to start. What a beautiful time. Their mission is to provide free, nutritious, homemade supper to anyone who needs a meal with no questions asked. They serve dinner every Monday and Wednesday at 5:30 to 6:30, plus a bag lunch for any extra meal on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. That's also a really good point. Each Thanksgiving they serve about 200 guests, and then of course we just talked about 2,000 meals went out this Thanksgiving?
Yes.
In Rockland County
In
alone.
Rockland County.
We serve meals, restaurant style, tablecloth and china. We got that. Hello. Do I hear a caller?
Lisa?
Yes.
Oh, it's Teresa again. I can't tell when I call in. So that is just awesome, Larry. How did you do? Would you say you asked how many food banks or pantries needed meals, their clients, and you 2,000? Did you coordinate that? The caterer or whoever you were ordering from, you worked with them that way to supply all those meals?
Yeah, how'd you pull
How do
that
we
off?
coordinate it? There's a woman that goes all over Rockland County and gets the orders, and then they actually have to pick up the meals from the caterer. And
So
the
the
caterer
caterer
is
bas-
World of Food in Valley Cottage.
World of Food in Valley Cottage was the caterer that prepared those meals.
Yes.
Wow, and you funded it? Your food
Yes, we
bank
funded it. Mhm.
Soup Angels?
Yep, all from donations.
Wow, that is awesome.
And
Larry,
we've done that for the last 5 years or so.
what does it cost you to serve one dinner? Is there
On
an
Thanksgiving?
average? Yeah.
On Thanksgiving, it costs about $8.
per person.
Yes.
And throughout the rest of the year, what's an average Monday night?
I think any one of our meals costs about $150
A night.
a night, something like that.
So, Larry, what do you do with the leftovers then? If you have leftovers at the end of the night?
Well, one thing we do with leftovers is the crew gets to eat dinner,
Right.
if there are leftovers. And if there's more leftovers, we freeze them and serve them another time.
Oh,
Fantastic.
perfect. So you can leave them right there.
Fantastic.
So I was curious, so what is your background, Larry? How did you not only end up, helping people this way, but what was it that work that you were doing in the world before you got involved, or maybe you're still doing that work?
I'm actually a sound engineer, what I do for a living. And my wife and I, on one Thanksgiving in 2006, said, hey, let's see if we can help out the community. And I hear they're doing a Thanksgiving meal down at the church. So we went down, and that's how I got involved. They said, hey, we're gonna set up teams and do it every week. And I said, I'm in.
Wow. Just out of your word, your commitment, you took action, and you continued to live it deliberately every week, which was our topic last week, living deliberately.
And I love every minute of it.
That's awesome.
Right.
Congratulations.
And
Thank you so much for doing that work. And I think, Lisa, part of that is like when you say, have other areas franchise it, or actually, I think you have a really good model. It's working really well. I think we talked about, not-for-profits. You have to make some profits. And I know you put it all back into the business, but you have to be able to have a good financial model to have it keep continuing. And yours is through donations that people have, because that was a lot of money you just spent on 2,000 meals at $8 a pop. So you have a great model for other people to follow. And I think for the communities that really need it, it's probably a terrific model for others to...
We would love to see a whole bunch of soup angels popping up all over the place. Be a great thing.
So,
Right. And ultimately, I think the point is to have people be financially sufficient, be able to afford to do it on their own. So as one of the really perfect, I don't remember, you want to be able to do it so you never have to do it again. But in the meantime, so people can do it on their own.
Right,
But
we
in
say
the
that all the time. After a
It's-
great meal serving 80 people, we say, it's a really great thing that we serve these people, and it's just really too bad that we have to serve these people.
Right. So you want to do it well enough to have yourself be out of existence, but in the meantime, where it's needed and when it's still really needed, to really be such a great service, such an efficient
Exactly.
service to make it all happen like that.
absolutely. So I was looking up, I have often quoted, my favorite Albert Schweitzer quotes. And so one of them that I found today, just before the show, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who will have sought and found how to serve. And so, I don't know how many people are familiar with Albert Schweitzer, but if you read about him and some of his work, it was amazing, the sacrifice that this man made. But to him, it didn't appear. It wasn't a sacrifice to him. He truly understood the reverence for life, and so he defines ethics as a reverence for life in all living things. And so it's fascinating to me to read not only what he's done, but some of his quotes. And so I encourage anyone who's interested in to read a little bit about Albert Schweitzer and see what the man gave up just to serve someone else. And so he lived a long life. He died at the age of 90. He was a very happy man, a scholar, a theologian, and he dedicated the majority of his life, I believe he was 30 years old when he gave up everything, went back to school to study medicine so he could open up a hospital in Africa. And he and his wife spent the rest of their days serving, of course, in a medical capacity, but serving nonetheless. And most of his books are they do talk about a reverence for life and the interdependence on us all, and knowing that when we help another, we are truly helping ourselves. And so whether you're a metaphysician or a Rhodes Scholar or you're just regular folk like myself, then I know that there is a tremendous reward in giving, and it is an incredible peace of mind that knows that you made a contribution.
helping is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. So, on that note, I know our show has now come to a close. I thank you once again for joining us on Divine Dialogue, and I encourage everyone now to share the word about what we do here on our talk show. And if you are aware of an organization that could benefit by an interview and sharing what their mission on our show, please write to us. Log on to thisorbetter.com and click on the contact button and give us a shout. Let us know. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we really do thank you for your support and your continued participation in our show. Once again, I thank you from Divine Dialogue. Have a wonderful week and be at peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Great show.
So.
It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.